Hi, folks. So welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. A lovely day on deck here in the Ozarks, mid 80s. Clouds are already starting to clear up, as you can see. When I first got up, the sun, well, before the sun come up, but when the sun came up, it was pretty cloudy. Almost looked like rain clouds, but there's no rain in the forecast today. But we do see some pretty clouds. How's that perspective look for you? Huh? It's kind of strange, whatever. Anyways, because I know that so many of you love the weather reports. And then there's a whole bunch of you that hate them. If you live in rural areas, especially more southern and midwestern rural areas, you should know that a lot of conversations start on the weather. It's just a thing. If you know, you know. You just, hey, boy, that weather, and then, conversation gets started. Iran says that the last 12-day war that was had between them and Israel, a few months ago, that the majority of the missiles and rockets and stuff that they fired was old stock, and that they have replaced all of that with new, more advanced weapons that they have been building and that they have gotten from China. So they're saying that they're ready. They're more than ready. They're building up, and that they are considering walking away from the nuclear proliferation treaty that they had been part of, and redefining their nuclear defense policies. So, Iran talks a lot, but they put on a pretty good show the last time around. So we'll see how that all works out. China, India, and Russia are working on a new trade agreement between the three of them, mostly because of the U.S. tariffs that's been placed on them. And so they're working on some new trade deals, and a new oil pipeline has been announced between the three that will try to circumvent some of the tariffs and restrictions and sanctions and all that kind of stuff in regards to Russian oil. Speaking of Russia, Russia has said that the United States needs to stay away from Greenland. They better not see any Russia or American ships close to Russian territories in the Greenland area, and to stay away from that. Venezuela has called up several thousand militia in defense of what they perceive as a possible invasion from the United States, because we have sent 3 ships with over 4,000 Marines down near Venezuelan waters. We're being told it's because of drugs. We're going to try to stop all these drugs coming out of Venezuela. But you also have to remember Venezuela is the largest oil supply in the world. And the United States has said that we do not recognize the current Venezuelan leadership as legitimate. So who knows how that could all play out? I don't know. It seems strange. And we're told that it's just because of drugs, but I don't know. Maybe it's more than that. The tensions just everywhere seem to be rising, and we're seeing kind of a different setting up of the chessboard, I think, than what a lot of people assumed. But make no mistake about it, it's all still planned. It's all still orchestrated. Just because sometimes it doesn't appear to be orchestrated, it is. Don't worry about it. It is. The relationships and the talks and everything between NATO, Ukraine, Russia, the United States, just don't seem to be going anywhere. Russia has launched massive attacks on Ukraine, lots of drones, missiles, bombs, all that kind of stuff. And it came out yesterday that Ukraine has lost about 1.7 million troops in this war, and they have less than 40 million population. So that's a pretty significant amount of their population that's been lost due to this war. And at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime too soon, unless Ukraine just kind of gives up. Israel has started its ground war into Gaza City, been heavily attacking that area. And I suspect that we'll start to see more and more, people protesting here in the United States and stuff because of that. Media so far seems to have been kind of tight-lipped on it, but who knows? That may start soon too. And China claims that they are 10 years in advance of the United States when it comes to technology. I just said this yesterday, that everything looked like that China was probably ahead of us when it came to tech. And some military experts have said that due to, intel and study, we see that China is rapidly, very fast, very rapidly, very intensely building its nuclear forces. Along with its standard conventional forces. It was a study that came out last year from the Pentagon that China's speed at which it's building its military far outpaces the speed that the United States was building its military during World War II. So that's happening. It's all great news, folks. Don't worry. It's wonderful. Let's stay positive, right? No negativity. No negativity. I mean, it's not negative. I see it as just being reality. That's what it is. We just need to accept reality sometimes and not get down about it. Be positive. Yesterday, the President Trump stated that Benjamin Netanyahu was a war hero, and that he guessed that he was also kind of a war hero too. I mean, it is the new normal. So I guess we're redefining the meaning of terms and phrases. So, Donald Trump's a war hero. It's a crazy world, right? We live in a clown world. We could go on and on about just the insanity that's happening. I mean, Cracker Barrel, I don't know if you saw that. They got a new woke CEO. That wokeism didn't die with Donald Trump. It may have gotten quiet. I think it's trying to build a comeback. I've just been watching, the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, it seemed like the woke stuff was dead and gone. I think it's going to at least attempt to make some kind of a comeback. And so the news is reporting that Cracker Barrel has a new CEO, and Cracker Barrel's, if you know, it's kind of that, traditional old white people kind of restaurant. And so they're trying to revamp their image of not being quite as, traditional and old, I guess. I don't know. So a lot of people are talking about that. But the country, I don't know, at its heart, I think, is really what's the problem. Yes, there's wars, there's economic wars, there's real wars, there's potential wars. All of that kind of stuff is certainly happening. We're watching the leadership in this country just become a clown show. America at its heart, the city streets, the cities of America are just riddled with crime and drugs and mental illnesses everywhere. And it's like we're living more and more in the movie Idiocracy. It feels like it. And I've said for years that even if you're unsure of if the world's going to blow up into a big apocalypse, if you're unsure if, the economy's going to collapse or the dollar's going to inflate to where it's completely worthless, if you're unsure of these things, or unsure that, the second coming is right around the corner, one thing you can be sure of is that America has lost its moral compass. It's becoming a clown show. And for me, that's enough to get prepared. That's enough for me to kind of take a step back from this society, find a little bit more remote place to live and to try to raise my children outside of this system as much as possible and live with my family that way and try to find others and focus on local things and community and preparedness, because the world it's lost is what it is. The world's lost, and America seems to be one of the ones leading in that charge. And I don't know if there's going to be a wake up. There's always people talking about a revival, a spiritual revival, or a political revolution. And, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just think that it's less and less likely to happen. And whether or not it does, we need to be focusing on what's going on in our circles, right? That's why I tell you every day to get your houses in order, because it's important. You know, we can complain about what's going on in the State House and the White House, and you know, it looks like it's the outhouse anymore. But if we're not taking stock about what's going on in our own household, and we're not doing something to improve that and change that, and then what immediately affects our household, you know, the relationships just outside of that, friends, family, neighbors, community, that kind of thing, then what's the point of complaining? Or what's the point of even preparing? You know, if you're preparing for Washington to fall and for China to, you know, lob its nukes at us, or, you know, a cyber attack or something like that, but yet you're not taking, you know, notice of what's going on around you and doing your best to improve that and to fix those relationships and to be prepared for the things that happen, whether it's, you know, the creek rising and, you know, area flooding, or, you know, the next pandemic and, you know, things even worse. Yes, it's a good idea to take, you know, notice of what's going on in the world, because it helps us kind of gauge where we're at and maybe a little bit of how much longer we have. But I still believe the most important thing is to focus on, well, what's going on around you? What's going on inside your home? What's your relationship like with your spouse and your children? Well, I mean, that's important. What's your relationship like with the Most High? That's really important. What's it like with the people around you? Where is it that you live? And is it in a place that, if need be, you could eke out a survival there? I mean, these are the real questions people should be asking. Do you know how to take care of yourself and not be dependent upon a system, any system, electrical grid, you know, the medical systems, you know, any kind of, you know, consumer, anything? Can you deal without that? Even if it's tough, even if you struggle, do you have the tools, the knowledge, the experience, all of that to survive on your own? Because most Americans don't. Most Americans have never. Even if we say, oh yeah, I've been on my own since I was 15 or whatever. No, you haven't. You live inside a system that makes life easier. No matter how hard life is for you that are watching, it's still easier than it could be. And there may come a day that that system around you, supply chains and electrical grids and clean water and all of that stuff, there may come a day that no longer exists, or it doesn't exist in the way that it does now. And you need to be ready for when that happens. Because if you're not able to stand on your own 2 feet when everything falls apart around you, well, then your options are to just perish, or to run to the safety net of Big Brother and the beast system. So I would suggest that you work on these things, and work on them hard, because, well, your life does depend on it. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.